There I am.
Oh man, Zoom really normally cleans my hair up better.
I know, right?
Backgrounds keep my frizz down.
Yeah. Okay, I think I need to do that.
Sweet, it looks like it's working. I'm happy. Awesome. Yeah, I think it should be fine if we just hang out here until the session starts.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure, like I'm seeing people join over here, but then I've only added a couple people. So I'm not sure, like Marlon and Christina, if you all actually like are in, or if I need to like press another button for you.
Marlon and Christina would have to click share audio and video, and then they should show up on the panel on the left. Oh, there he is.
I see him under there. Admin. Gloria.
Hey.
Hi, everyone.
Hello there.
Can you can see me, right?
They changed the meaning of a common word for video sharing to mean something else. You know what I mean? That commonly means just sharing a window.
Yeah.
Not
That's exactly what I thought too.
added to a meeting.
True. That is true. Set up.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
I have my yacht on the background. I cannot remove it. It's refusing to leave. Oh God, I don't know what to put it.
And then Marlon, like we see
What's going on with this?
What's it called? We don't actually see you.
I'm trying to figure out why is it doing that? Oh, I see. I see what it did. Okay.
Okay, and volume.
Student in. So Marla, Christina, Gloria, Alex, okay, Morgan, and then John's the only one left.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, now I can.
Okay, can you see me?
Yes.
All right.
There's mine.
We're all wondering if it works.
I posted just some high-level questions in the chat. I figure we'll do introductions, and then we'll talk more about how each of you came to be here at EA, your journey to EA, and at a high level what your team does at EA. Then we can talk a little bit more about your role and how is it the same as what you interviewed for? How is it a little bit different? How do you create that role versus just applying for a role? And then kind of end on mentorship. And if we have time, we can get into interviews and some of the other stuff that we had. But I think that should probably take us through the whole event. Is there anything that anyone specifically wanted to touch on? So I can add that in.
Okay, I'm gonna keep pulling.
Sorry, Cassie, I was looking at
looking up,
questions.
so
I think those questions are great, and do a good job of just giving everyone a chance to say how they got here in their own unique, authentic way to fill out interview advice or tips. I've got weird ones. Not really, but in that fashion, though, just trying to break the ice for yourself, right?
Good, sounds good.
So are we missing a few more folks? Natasha, I see she said hi.
Yeah, I think she's just an attendee here to just bother Marlon with questions.
Do you bring your own fan club, Marlon?
Yeah.
You'd be like, "What's it like being amazing?" No. Why? Thank you for that question. And I'll just be like, "Well, I learned everything about that from Christina and Cassie and Morgan and Gloria and Valerie."
Oh, it's a love fest.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think from our end, we're just missing John, but we can probably get started anytime. See, other folks are joining us.
So Cassie, on mentorship, sponsorship, what are you looking for on that question in particular?
I figured I'd ask each of you if you have a mentor or a sponsor, and then whether you do or don't, we can just kind of get into, what the difference between a mentor versus a sponsor is, and then any key advice if you have a great mentor, how to get one, if it's been helpful having a mentor in your career.
I have a program, a mentorship/sponsorship program at EA. We do.
Yeah.
Oh, formally, okay. Then that's something. Okay, perfect. Because I did ask this question actually last week, and I couldn't get an answer. Cool, thank you.
It's been piloted for a subset of the company. It started within the Women's Ultimate Team. And this year, once I think they complete a full cycle, they starting in November, they are taking requests for mentorships, mentors and mentees to start a full cycle next year for a full year.
Great, thank
Broader across the company.
Here comes John.
No cats crossing the keyboard today? Cats or dogs?
No. I wish I had a dog to sit right here with me. But...
Hi, beautiful people.
Hi.
Oh,
Hello.
No.
I had to. I saw the no background message like right when I was logging in. I was like, oh, I'm in my garage. Let me.
I know. I have to move a lot of things, and I have a Yoda in the back.
Yeah, my whiteboard is plain white. I had to erase everything like tiny.
Cool. It's cool. I gotta find my phone. Where this might be.
No.
Everyone get set up, and we will get started in a few.
Okay.
I wish we play like music or something, some like elevator music.
I actually have a little dog, but he's a drama queen. I cannot touch it. I want to play everything, and he's like, no, don't.
Right. Well, my cat, I have a cat, but it's not like he comes to me. It's like I come to him. He goes to the door, he wants to go to the backyard and come back, go out. And so like 3 times, per hour, I go and cater for opening and closing the door.
Yeah.
I have to attend my 7-year-old with no iPad should he cross the door and come to this area, so he knows better. We'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah, I fully expect one of the two one of my daughters to be out here before it's all said and done.
About that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they usually find their way. Guess I should start looking at Cassie's screener questions.
Yeah. You can just talk about whatever you want. It's fine.
Yeah, and I make it up as I go.
Yeah.
Whatever happens. So I see it says 8 of 9. Who's the 9th person?
I'm assuming maybe it's JM or someone.
Sounds right. I know you chatted right earlier.
Yeah, I think he's the only one. Not him.
What is there is a little icon of like a monitor. What is that one for?
I believe it's a screen share.
Oh, trying to learn about this.
And now Gloria will show us exactly what a workday looks like.
Yep.
All right. So if I click on this, am I on mute?
We can't hear you.
Fantastic.
There is like an echo. I don't know if you guys hear it.
Mm,
No.
Not for me.
Yeah, I'm not.
it's more like a little background noise, but not echo. Echo?
There was an echo just a few seconds ago, but it stopped.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was me. I was muted when we start talking about the echo, so I wonder.
It's you. Yeah.
Echo, echo, echo.
Messing with our minds.
We hear noises.
I feel like I should have had like a banner or something right here now.
I know. I'm trying to look to see what I have.
Yeah, our backgrounds are pretty boring right now compared to the party they were having over there. They're gonna come over here.
How about this?
Yeah.
One second. The rubber ducky. I like that
In
one.
honor of Thomas, we can have like this. Let's see if I have another sticker that is yellow.
Too bad, Christina, look, I have the same color.
Yeah.
Just
I have a yellow sticker, but it's no.
This one. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been too Zoom reliant for my swag lately.
Man.
My game.
Yeah. I packed up my office the other day, so I have like tons of stuff to hang up, but I haven't bothered. Now maybe I will.
I've avoided it because it's so tiny. Like my apartment's so tiny.
Mm.
Try not to. I have a lot of stuff in my desk. Chris Faison might know, and Aluza's seen my desk, and there's like stuff there.
Yeah.
Much stuff.
Yeah, my desk is right in front of our bed, so so I don't have a Zoom background. You can see like the 4 pillars. My wife's working in the bedroom right now, anyway. So,
Mm-hmm. T-minus 3 minutes.
Hola. Hello, everyone. See the chat.
Yeah.
Becoming active.
We really need one of those like EA kickoff videos like we have at the town halls or something.
Yeah.
Get the energy up.
Just share your screen and play a random EA trailer.
Don't watch me play The Sims or something.
Yeah.
Look at Christina's comments. Living in the same chat.
Especially without a background, and then I can see my harsh reality here. When you have a background, it's like, hey, I'm on the ocean. I am in some pretty places.
Yeah, I was like, should I use my?
It's like now, it's like me in my chair sitting here for 5 months. Okay.
Yeah. I'm in the clean side of the garage.
I kicked my husband out of our office, so we've from the office area. Can't be in the same office anymore. It's long. Zoom meetings and having to turn around and say, "Be quiet! I can't hear anything."
Oh, wow. See, that's brutal.
That happens.
Well, at least I know it happens to other people. I mean, I got kicked out of our office too. So at least there's more husbands out there. Like,
No, I mean the good news is we're still married. Bad news for him is he
I know
lost.
that there's other husbands out there like
Oh
that.
yeah.
I feel a little bit better about that.
Oh yeah. No, you're not the only one. I thought I would have to.
My situation. My situation is. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say that my arrangements here is like office. Oh, wow, that's a luxury. So I'm in the family room, very much facing the kitchen. So I have to put some warning signs like, "Hey, no noise, people. No time to eat now." It's like it's. But the good news is that yesterday, while I was kind of in a meeting, I had, we had some muffins fresh from the oven. It was wonderful. So it's like, okay, I'm strategically positioned here.
Yeah.
I am on the other side, so every time I go to the other side, I grab chocolate, and then that's my exercise. Back and forth.
All right, Yash said she wants someone to do the EA Sports line. So I nominate Cassie.
All right. I'll get kicked off. Right. I don't think I can do it like they can in the game now. Usually it's like a pretty deep voice, right? It's like EA Sports. It's in the game or something like that.
EA Sports. It's in the game.
Did you say it? Were you that voice actor for it?
I know. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, it is 7:31 my time, 4:32 PST. I guess we should get started now. I see people are coming in. Welcome, everyone who's joining us. My name is Cassie Richardson. I will be the moderator here for our EA panel. With us today, we have a few different leaders across the organization, and we will be talking about all things career related. Here at EA, our mission is to inspire the world to play, and we believe that when you play, the world is in fact a better place. So we'll be talking about how we all have come to be at EA, what our different roles are. We'll touch a little bit on mentorship, and we are here to take your questions. So we will try to put some of those into the conversation, so feel free to type your questions into the chat. But with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Cassie Richardson. I am a Director of Product Management for Enterprise Security in the EA IT department. I know it's a long time. I came to be at EA through a series of winding career choices, which we can talk about down the road, but I want to get to our panelists. John, let's start off with you, and then you can throw it to somebody else. Tell us a little bit more about you, your role, and how you came to get to EA.
Sure. I am John Gunter, Jr. I am the head of threat and vulnerability management and at EA, along with our enterprise security team. And what other things am I supposed to say? How I got to EA? My journey to EA was it was a pretty interesting one. It all falls on networking. I was working in finance and healthcare before this at a pretty big healthcare company. I was able to do a lot of cool things with that company. One of the most namely things was restructuring their endpoint posture. From that, I actually oddly went to a security conference that an EA employee was at, and we were both in a private dinner. Prior to that, I thought that EA security was all homegrown and they didn't use, products, third-party products. I realized they were using the same product because we were at the same event, and so I knew I could do the work, and I applied to the job and had some conversations that trickled down and ended up getting me here. So I will toss to who she knew I was going to toss it to her. I'm going to toss it to Gloria, and we'll hear about her.
Doing this a lot. Hello, my name is Gloria Belanger. I manage the procurement and asset management team for technical operations cloud groups within EA Digital Platform. So my journey to EA, it was also very interesting. Prior to EA, I worked at a semiconductor company as systems engineer, and I'm actually originally from Peru, so that was my first job in the US. So during 2009, the company shut down due to the crisis, and when I was searching for a job, I saw this kind of weird title on the website. It was for a site services specialist, which I was like, what is that? So I started looking at that, and it was for BioWare, which was one of the studios that EA has. So the titles are kind of different, right? If I wouldn't look and check what the description was, I will never know it was for systems engineer, but with some procurement background. So I joined the BioWare team, which was working on the Star Wars, The Old Republic project. Part of the project was to build several data centers across the globe, which was actually amazing because I got to meet so many people in so many different areas.
That's great. Who would you like to toss it over to?
Alex.
Okay, thanks, Gloria. Hey, everyone. I'm Alex Cantero. I'm a manager of Next Gen Talent here at EA. I've been with EA for 5 years. My team oversees university recruitment, so interns, university graduates, really focused on all of our studios and all of our disciplines. And I arrived at EA in 2016 and 2015, but came via the university side of things. So definitely pivoted to come here. I was working for my alma mater, the University of Chicago, here in the Bay Area, doing development work. Had set up a regional office for them. Development work, not on the technical side, on the fundraising side for the university. So working with companies and individual donors and alumni groups, but also helping with internships and recruiting internships and job roles to market to students. And that was really a big passion point of mine. So I knew I really wanted to jump industries and make a change. Didn't attend any of the schools in the Bay Area, but wanted to challenge myself and set my sights to go, private side of things. And EA was atop that list. And took about a year to make the move, identifying positions, and initially applied for a role that was really just trying to get my foot in the door. But they were like, this is a little junior. Why don't we think a little bit bigger here? And came in as an experience manager for our internship program and overseeing all of our program manager as well as our experience for the interns and university graduates we bring on. I left EA actually after 3 years and came back 7 months later. I went to another gaming company. No knock on them. I just leaving. I realized that not all companies are made the same. Not all gaming companies are made the same. So I missed the company, missed the people, and was able to come back, left on great terms, and one of many boomerangs here at EA. And I'll pop it over to Marlon.
Hi, everyone. I work as the Director of Experience Design for IT, and I joined EA just as the pandemic hit. So I've only been to our Redwood Shores, they call it EAR's office, once for my on-site, once to have somebody slide a laptop out to me out the door and then lock it and say, welcome to EA in a really enthusiastic voice. It was great. And so since then, March, when I started, it's been great. Great company to work for. It was always a dream of mine to work for a game company, and it never worked out for me to even really apply for one, except, in this, situation. And so, I was just like, wow, they want to talk to me. This is great. And I'm naming games I used to play, back when I when I just saw the EA logo on the little Nintendo cartridge. And so, when I got offered the role, I have 4 of the brothers and sisters. I sent a text out to my 2 brothers and said, I work for the company that made Skate or Die, which was the game that we played endlessly as kids in the, I guess, late 80s or early 90s. So that's my experience here. Who else is left? It is Morgan.
Hi, everyone. I guess I am the total noob here. I joined EA about 3 months ago, and it's been an interesting time joining with COVID and just interviewing and Zoom, at panel after panel. But it's been an amazing journey so far. I have been in the gaming industry for about 15 years. And this role, believe it or not, I actually didn't apply for it. I wasn't even looking. I got recruited by EA, and I was convinced after the first conversation that I should really look into EA. I was at Blizzard back then, and I couldn't be happier. It's been great, really, and I look forward to meeting everyone here.
I think Christina, you're last but not least.
Yeah, I think I am the last one. So hi, everyone. My name is Christina Rufeisen. I am part of the EA IT organization, like some of my colleagues here on the chat. And I, like Alex, I'm also a boomerang. So I have come to EA and then I left and I came back. So how did I come to EA the first time? I actually was working for Hewlett Packard for many years. In fact, it was the first company I worked in the US when I came from Brazil. I'm from Brazil originally. So I was working for Hewlett-Packard in Brazil, got transferred and started working for Hewlett-Packard here in the Bay Area, California, and multiple different roles and so on and so forth. And then I had a boss that I really liked. And then he left the company one day. He's like, oh no, I like this guy. And he went to Electronic Arts. So once he got there, I think there was a role that apparently had my name on it. They were trying to do something with master data management, and it's an area that I was working with before at HP, but I wanted to, expand a little bit more and so on and so forth. So they were looking for somebody, so he pinged me, and I came and interviewed and got to meet the different folks at EA. Really liked the environment, and next thing I know, I was making a switch and leaving HP and coming and joining EA. And then after that, I stayed for some years, and then I left and went to a medical company and tried, expanding on the same master data management, but I think a broader role, and which was great for a couple of years. But then I decided that I wanted to change the focus of my career a little bit. I was on the IT software development, more on the technical delivery side, but my heart has been always with the program management side. So my role is the Senior Director of Program Management in IT. So when I came back the second time, I was looking for doing a little bit of a pivot. So and like Alex, I left on super good terms. And when there was this opportunity, as I was talking to some old friends at EA, and they said, hey, we have an opportunity here. Would you come back and chat with us? And next thing I know, I came back. So, and here I am. And it's a fun company to work with. And I joke, I don't know, Alex, once you left, I remember when you left, we were all sad the first time, and super glad that you came back as we worked together. But I used to joke with my boss when I left the first time. I said, I feel like I'm getting a divorce without even having had a fight. When you're leaving your husband behind, it's like, hey, I have more things to explore with EA. I don't think I'm ready to leave it. It was great. So I had an opportunity to come back and do some more. So
that's great. Well, thank you all for the introductions, and welcome to some new folks that have joined in the meantime. Let's kick it off talking a little bit more about the roles that each of you do at EA, because everyone on this call, I believe, is actually not tied to a specific game, as I think many folks who are attending this would think. Most of us actually are around tech or some sort of tech ops work. So let's start with Marlon. As you, I think, even though you're in IT, you have a pretty creative job. So can you tell us a little bit more about the team that you work on?
So my team, it varies between, 9 to 15 people, depending. And what we focus on is ensuring that folks can do their job at a high level. And so any of the products that folks use to make other products, including create games, but mostly facilitating the collaboration process. That's what we want to make sure happens at a high level. It's a fun position. We always have between 40 to 60 projects kind of on our roadmap at any given time. And so what has worked really well for us since I've been here is just, making sure that there's clarity in what we want to get done, and making sure that we have these overall values and kind of objectives that really keep folks centered on what we're really trying to do. So that's really the decider. I really enjoy it. I've gotten to work on the finance side, the healthcare side. For about half of my career, I was on the marketing side. And I've actually made some games before, smaller games on the design side. But this, kind of in a lot of ways puts it all together. And so I've been really enjoying it.
Cool. John, I will throw it over to you. As you were part of the security team, can you talk a little bit more about security at EA and what specifically you do?
Yeah, security is a fun realm to be in at EA. Like I said, I worked in finance and healthcare prior to this, so it's pretty regulated what you can do in those industries, and in the technology industry. everyone wants to be innovative and everyone wants to have the new technology and everyone wants to try things. And security, we're the people that say no most of the time. So it's really been a totally different approach to security than I've had previously. My role is vulnerability management. So what I do for our titles and for our internal corporate infrastructure is, excuse me, one moment. I scan our environment for vulnerabilities in our servers, whether that be configuration issues, patching issues, or anything susceptible to, just online, hackers and things like that. So the job is, it's a pretty cool environment. It really touches around getting to the products. I've had a couple of interesting things where I've been the person that stands between a game hitting a mark and being in security. I didn't think that that I'd ever run into that, but it's been really fun to see our titles like FIFA and things like that, and where I fit in as far as security in the grand scheme of our products.
Awesome. And speaking of security, so Christina, can you tell us a little bit more about your role and specifically the work from home efforts that EA and the EAIT team have been doing?
Sure. So my role is actually an interesting role. It's called Transformation Program Manager. And this is a role that didn't exist a while ago. And as I mentioned to you guys, I wanted to, so I'm a program manager. So when I came back to EA as a program manager, I started managing projects within EAIT. And then I think some of us that are a little bit more seasoned started doing more transformation projects that are across the board. And then soon I saw myself doing projects not only within EAIT, but working with many different parts of the company on some multifunction projects. And right now, I think I'm part of a project called Proteus that is the EA response to COVID and the pandemic. And I think like Cassie mentioned, we have been working with many different teams, IT being one of them, so my home group, but as well across the board. So many different efforts are going on, overnight. EA, like many other companies, we had to get our employees set up to work from home within an interval of 1 week. So many exciting things happening with upgrading VPN and infrastructure, sometimes hours ahead of the demand. So pretty exciting. And a lot of activities are still going on, and we are now moving into a different phase where we are imagining what the work of the future is going to be. So we are now all working from home, and it's going to be a time when we start reopening the offices, what we are doing little by little. And then we are going to see ourselves in a hybrid environment where some employees are working from the office, some employees are working from home. So lots of activities going on there. And that's where we work with a lot of folks here in the phone. Marlon and the user experience aspect of this, super important. Gunter, the security aspect of making sure that everybody that is doing the things that they're doing from home is we are all in the clear. So so that's what's going on, and that's what I think the role of a program manager enables. A view into different parts of the company and facilitating activities across the board.
That's great. And Gloria, I know that you're part of the ops procurement team and you work in planning and engagement. I'm sure working from home and everything this year must have proven to be its own challenges. Can you talk more about what your team does and how 2020 has affected the work that you do?
Yes, absolutely. So what we do, we have two roles. We manage the infrastructure life cycle in the technical operation data centers and also our hosting and cloud environments. We make sure that we have available servers capacity to host our games, especially when we are during launch season, right? Sometimes we have many players. There is additional PSU that we didn't forecast for. So then we need to make sure that we have additional capacity to keep our games running and to be able to engage everybody across the globe. So we also make sure that our contract renewals, all the infrastructure, our equipment arrive on time according to the needs of our games. We engage a lot with finance, accounting, legal, because in some situations we cannot just have a contract for our games without having EA teams reviewing. So there is a lot of work on the background that goes to just run our games, which a lot of people don't think about it, right? We are a big organization, and not everybody just focus on the game, but we also have to focus on support, just launch the game. And after that, so our work usually comes after the developers finish creating the game, which is actually pretty cool, because when we are in launch season, we're like, oh my God, we got so many players, and are we able to support them? Yes, so we have all the technical group, and my team makes sure that we have everything ready for our platforms where the games are going to be running.
That's great. Morgan, you're the newest member of EA, I believe, on this call. Can you touch on what your team does, but then also maybe a little bit about the interview process that you went through, and a bit on onboarding?
Sure, I'll start by the interview. I'll go from the beginning. So interview process was actually really interesting during the whole COVID situation and work from home. It was a bit, it went really well, considering that I am used to working remotely to some extent anyway. So it wasn't a total shocker to just meet people via Zoom. But the surprising aspect was to get an offer where I have never met anyone and they have not met me either. And then getting a team who hasn't met me yet. Really, I have 5 engineers that haven't met me yet in person. So, and it's just the dynamics and adjustment to the new lifestyle, which the entire world has had to adapt. So that was the interview process. Onboarding has been going really well. Really, I am grateful that I've had such a wide of resources and help in getting me ramped up, whether it's from the training aspect, HR aspect, resource management, knowledge base. I mean, there is a lot of information out there on EA portal, and I'm grateful. It's probably one of the best onboarding experiences I've had, considering it's during COVID-19. It's a strange dichotomy, because usually you expect to have a great onboarding experience in person, where you have your buddy, your onboarding buddy, and you meet in person once a day. For me, it's all been remote, but it's been really, it's been going well. Now, what I do, my title is interesting. My title is Director of Technical Program Management, but I actually manage a team of engineers. Knowing where, well, I mean, I've managed engineers pretty much my entire career. I've been in the gaming industry. It just happens that this team needed more of a help around just getting the work organized and structuring and prioritization for the engineers than anything else. So I know one of the questions will be like later on, is your job exactly what you interviewed for? Things change, job roles, jobs, I would say requirements change, life changes. And we just have to go with the flow. I would say what we do I would say it's close to what Marlon mentioned. We are also a distributed team, so we have a team of engineers that supports all the mobile titles, whether it's a feature that they need to get out the door and they need a resource, or building infrastructure for them so that we can help enabling our game teams to scale up, so that they don't have to deal with building a foundation where we've built it day in and day out, and we can provide them almost like a service and say, here we go. You would like to build X, we have this to help you with it.
That's great, thank you. And Alex, last but not least on this question, can you tell us more about what you do with the Next Gen Talent team, but then also maybe touch on recruiting efforts? I think there were some questions around EA's commitment to diversity, how we're working to, close that gap like a lot of other tech companies. And can you talk a little bit more about that and what we've been doing?
Well, definitely. writing out a response, but great to speak live to it. So my team specifically, Next Gen Talent, formerly known as University Recruitment. So Next Gen Talent, we focus on the entry point with internships, university graduate positions on the full-time side. We also work closely with our employee resource groups. I'm a member of Somos, among others, to really build further engagement with students beyond college, so high school, middle school. So I know Cassie is Get in the Game program in Orlando. We do Spawn Point out in the Bay Area, really focused at underrepresented talent in the company at an early segment there. My team specifically, we engage with 90% underrepresented campuses in the U.S. So 9 out of 10, that's the students we're looking for. We want to ensure that we make games for everyone. Sorry, we make games, right? We want to make sure we make games for everyone, and we need to have everyone here making games. Throughout recruitment, we have alignment guides that really ensure that at the kickoff of a role, that inclusivity and diversity is top of mind. Not thinking about standard job descriptions or replacement hiring for what if you have someone leave the company, or just looking for someone to hit the ground like right now for this like matrix idea of what you want, but really thinking about how talent can complement what you're looking for and thinking beyond experience within gaming. I think you heard from a lot of people on the team. We're not all from gaming backgrounds, so not just looking for areas or within our own networks that'll produce homogenous talent. So really kind of doing it at the on point. It really is about actions, not on paper, as you mentioned, Tasha. I know our company also does a pretty good job of listening, and it's on us to keep our executives and our leaders honest. And the fact that we do have dialogue to do that at the C level, our employee resource groups, they're not just areas where I get to hang out with, Latinos, Latinas, the Latinx community, Black colleagues, LGBT colleagues. It's about, at least for me, I see it as a way to like engage across the company, share culture, build critical mass, because the industry is lacking diversity. Come together and really drive partnerships that really drive the company to do a better job of building representation. Our games themselves, I know the people on our call today that can speak more to this, that our games, we apply frameworks to ensure that they're being inclusive and representation is being thoughtful. The characters in our game and how we're marketing it. It's not just corporate internal culture. Our games touch a lot of people, so we need to be mindful of that as well. So those are just something that I'm happy to chat further about.
Yeah, absolutely. If anybody in the audience, any of our attendees have any questions, feel free to post them, and we'll try to get to them either on the call here or via the chat. Let's skip around a little bit in the questions that I prepared for you all. Keep you on your toes today. By a show of hands, how many of you have mentors or sponsors? Anyone? Awesome. Yeah. Let's go to Marlon. Can you talk a little bit about whether you have a sponsor or a mentor first, and then how that person has played a role in your career, whether it's seeking advice, helping with career opportunities? How have you used that relationship, and how has it benefited you?
I've had early in my career, I guess, when I really took mentorship seriously, is when I was sort of thrust into a management role the first time. And I was a dedicated IC, we call it individual contributor on the design side. But then there was this recession in 2008 that some of us remember. And my company downsized, and I was asked to kind of step in and, manage the team. And because I'd worked with these folks for a few years, they were real honest with me. I had a good relationship with them. And so that kind of accelerated things. And then some of those folks who were, more experienced than me in a lot of ways made that suggestion of getting a mentor and told me how to do it. And at the time, honestly, I just cold messaged people on LinkedIn, and it worked out. And I did what I didn't realize, but I realized very quickly, is that I was entering into a education, You know, I was given books to read. I was given courses. Hey, you should take that course, or you know, folks didn't just always tell me what to do. They kind of helped me get there. And then, you know, with sponsorships, eventually, some of these people I maybe I worked with, or just they were mentors for a while, they felt comfortable enough to be a sponsor. So this is where the difference is. Sponsor can have an effect on your career in a really positive way. They're basically saying, I'm vouching for this person. I think you should give them an opportunity in this position. I've been able to take advantage of that one time before, and I think pretty much everybody needs it at some point in their career, especially when you need to kind of grow into that position. You maybe have all the skills for something, and will be good at it, but maybe you don't have the full skill set that someone is looking for. So that's one of those things, an opportunity to grow into a position that I feel like everybody needs that at one point in their career. And I try to provide those kind of opportunities for folks you know, in the same way that it happened for me. Otherwise, it's pretty easy to get stuck. But also on top of all that, you need to set your own career goals. Make sure you have a manager that cares, right? Leave. If you don't have a manager that cares about your career success, don't stay in that position. You know, that's the most impactful thing there is out of a bunch. If you don't have a manager that supports you growing your career, you won't be able to in that position. You'll have to find one that does. And so I know it sucks because sometimes you're like, I love everything about it. I just in that situation, got to make a change if you want to, you know, progress in your career.
Yeah, and just to add to that, just because I love this line, you know, and this idea of really, you have to feel that you belong, and your manager is your connection to your environment as well. So they have to be helping you on watching over your career and helping as a thought partner. And you, of course, have to take the lead and share what you aspire and so on and so forth. But in addition to that, I think the environment that you have to be in, I think, you know, the whole idea at EA, we hear a lot and we see it happening, is bringing your whole self to work. So you have to come and be who you are. That is the best recipe for success, being authentic, bring your ideas. You should not feel that you have to limit yourself or curb some aspects of your personality or whoever you are. That is also not a good formula. So not only your manager has to support you, but you have to be in an environment where you feel you can bring your whole self to work every day.
Yeah, absolutely. John, I think you also raised your hand for having a mentor and or sponsor. Can you speak a little bit to that relationship?
I feel like you keep calling on me, Cassie.
Yeah.
I think one of mentors and sponsors extremely important. Like Marlon said, a sponsor can directly influence, you know, your career trajectory. Something one of our colleagues actually always says that is actually the head of our diversity and inclusion is treating yourself as a business and having your own board of directors. And that's something that I really love. And, you know, in the theory of as I grow in my career, my professional networks, first internal and external, continue to grow. I continue to find people that one, want to assist me, and two, that, you know, believe in the work that I do. So my first actual professional mentor was a sales guy, and it's probably the oddest thing. But it was really similar to Marlon's situation where I had a good relationship with this person because we worked together over 2 years. You know, he was a technical account manager on one of my products. And as we grew to work to each other, although he worked in sales, he had so much experience and so much knowledge about just the corporate infrastructure and how the corporate world worked. And so when I actually left that company, he was one of the first people to tell me, like, this is your skill set and this is where you may fit at other companies. He was also someone that I looked to when I was interviewing at EA to tell me, he said, you know, I sold to them before, and these are the people I know that have left EA. These are the people I know that have stayed at EA. And these are some of the things that they've told me about. So not even, you know, directly to my growth, he was able to, you know, give me some just industry knowledge, which was super helpful. And then definitely, you know, my sponsor is a direct influence in my work internally, is a guy that I talked to prior to being hired. I was trying to be short-winded earlier, but when I first applied to EA, I was approached by a VP at the time, not for a role or anything like that. We just had a 45-minute chat, and he said from that chat, like, I want to try to help you, one, get into this company, but I want to help you further. And I did end up getting into a role that wasn't, you know, the role that we expected, but he was still at the company, and he's been a direct influence of almost everything that I've accomplished in the last 2 years here at the company. So it's extremely beneficial. The word of advice that I've gotten that has always stuck with me is treat yourself like your own business. You know, and have your own board of directors, have your C-suite, have your people that you look to for different situations. You know, one mentor might have this knowledge, and one mentor might have other knowledge, and utilize them for that. Definitely.
Cool. I want to see who might want to take this question, because it's a little different than some of the ones we had talked about. But I'm curious if anyone here has advice on how to get into the area of expertise that they're in now. Any career advice for that?
Well, I can say something. Effect. So for design, a lot of jobs in IT is in the last, I don't know, maybe decade, there has been a much more of an emphasis on practical experience and knowledge, and just being able to kind of show it. And with design, it's simpler to show that than in some of the other fields. So I would say that if you can show it, you can probably get that job, regardless of certifications or your educational background. What does a manager look for in product design? Not the solution only, because I don't know if that solution is, it doesn't matter what it looks like, I don't know if it's the right solution. So you got to take me through what the whole product design process, including what was the objective, why is this important for the business to do, how does this help whoever those users are, and then the problem solving process. And I also want to know the contributions of other folks that you work with, because that's, if you're in product design, you're one cog in a kind of a triforce of three. And so showing that, being able to speak on the contribution of other people is important, because you're going to collaborate a lot. And you should want, the best case scenario is that we all feel good to go to this next step, right? And designers are in a really good position to do that because of visual design. We can illustrate certain things and try to get folks there. But being able to explain why you make certain decisions is what I look for. And then, you know, you can start showing me some of the solutions. And then I can understand that, oh, this was a good solution based off of, you're allowing me to basically be a person who's a stakeholder who can give you feedback if you give me everything you worked for along with the problems that you dealt with. And so if you just do that 1 or 2 times, or maybe 3 times in your portfolio, that's going to jump you up far on the line with any company. Don't just show the output, show how you got there in product design. So how do you get, well, you say, well, how do I do it? Well, product doesn't have to be real. That's not as important. You know, you can do You could help a local library or museum or a small business that's trying to get off the ground, or people who have suffered through a lot of the COVID things. You know, as long as you can show it and it's tangible, that's going to let you work to allow you to show all those steps. That's what you want. And then you need a good network of design mentors. This is a great field for people who are willing to give you feedback when you're going. So please don't show it to anybody if you don't have it, unless you get some feedback outside. Ask certain questions. Getting cold, like letting somebody go through a prototype and getting their tests, you know, calibrating all that stuff. You got to go ahead and do that. It doesn't matter if it's a small sample size. It's especially if you're entry, associate level, junior level. I want to know if you understand what to do to get there. Because when you come into a larger company, you're going to have a lot more resources. But understanding the concept of all we're doing at a certain point is we're taking everything we know at the time and we're giving our best guess, and then we're going to test that with real users. Then we're going to iterate based off of that. So I want to make sure you feel comfortable. If I don't have to teach you that, that's definitely going to put you higher up on the list, and that will work for you in any of the major companies, Google, Facebook, Apple. Every person that does this work at that level looks for the same thing. So that's the tip I can give you. You know, if you want to try to make a splash in the field without maybe that job before that, maybe, you know, for some of honestly, the smaller companies, they look for that kind of thing, but some of the larger companies, they look for more substance. So create that network. LinkedIn is a good place. Just cold email some of these people. They can say yes or no, right? You only need really one yes out of 50. You know, you do that 400, 500 times. If you got 10 people like John and Christina, Gloria, Cassie, Alex, or Morgan that will respond to your messages, and they will if they're just direct questions, you know, that they feel like they can answer. We'll respond. We've all been there. We were all at the beginning once. Everybody has a soft spot for that, you know, at a certain point, and so will you guys one day. So that's my best advice.
Cool. Anyone have any other advice? I kind of want to pick on Morgan a little bit as a technical PM. I know that there was at least a couple people on here that were also PMs or looking to get into that field. I know my path into project management and product management was different. Curious to see how you got into it and any recommendations.
Yeah, my path was unplanned. We talked earlier about mentors and sponsors. Early in my career, much earlier in my career, I had the opportunity of having both a sponsor and a mentor who actually drove me or guided me to this path where I said, hey, with your skill set, I think you should become a game producer. And so that's how it started. I studied in game production. And then I worked my way out of game production, where I went to a financial institution for about 4 years to just try the good old project management side of things, where you go by the book just because of all the regulations. I know John mentioned the regulations in healthcare and financial institution. There is a lot of them. And so my path, I took the long way to get here. But really what I would add is not only you have to have the knowledge and then the thought process that Marlon mentioned, that's super important too, but get to know some of the tools. What I do recall as my first blocker, and this was on me, it was a mental block of, okay, well, I don't have the understanding, I don't have the knowledge of this tool they use, and apparently they use it every day. I don't think I qualify for this job. I would say take a step back, open your horizon, and understand that it's not because you don't have the knowledge or understanding or experience with a specific tool that you're disqualified. I would say lean into it, look into other tools, reach out. I don't know if it was John or Marlon who mentioned, just ask questions. You know, on LinkedIn, you see someone who has the same title that you want, just ping them, ask. I know that in my case, that's how I did it. I would just look by title and say, okay, this person may know that tool, and just talk to your network, build your board of advisors, your directors, own your destiny. Really, it's don't sit and wait for others to help you. Take that first step. you won't regret it.
Yeah, for sure. So on what you said about kind of owning your own destiny, Christina, could you talk a little bit more about the role that you have and the role that maybe you had before this, or the idea of your role evolving and creating a position for yourself, whether here at EA or maybe at a past company?
Right. Actually, if I think about the position that I am right now, it's a kind of a different position. So as I mentioned, it's a program management position. I'm based of EAIT, but I feel like I am a consultant working for the company because as a more seasoned program manager, there are 2 or 3 of us within our own IT organization that can be deployed to whatever projects. It doesn't need to be IT. And it was interesting because I was doing my IT program management and lots of things that we do there. And then somebody from another organization, our HR, our chief people officer, she came on board and she was looking for an experienced program manager, but she didn't want to go and get a consultant from the outside because she was doing some transformation initiatives within EA and HR, and she wanted the EA folks to be part of it. So she tapped into her peers and said, hey, anybody, could I borrow anybody that would like to come and play a role for a few months? And I said, hey. So it was great to have the support of my management team and my leadership team because they were great EA citizens. They were losing a resource from the team, and I went to do a secondment in the HR team. That's where I met Alex and other folks there from HR. But doing that, for me, was a fantastic experience. I got to play a role different from my own role, and it was so nice because the HR team actually they were such gracious hosts. They actually put a desk for me in their territory. I was part of their distribution list, so I felt that I can move jobs without moving jobs, and it was a great experience. So I got to meet and be immersed in that organization and see how they operate on a day-to-day. And I spent several months there. And then I came back to IT and said, hey, great, that was a wonderful experience. I'm coming back. And guess what? There's a demand for another program happening in another part of the organization that was not EAIT. I went to go and work with Tech Ops. And as I finished that, I came back and then COVID hit. And it's like there's a need for a program manager for something outside and that's cross-functional. So I feel that, and during this whole experience, I was talking to my manager, and they checking in. Are you okay with that? And it's like I love it. I really feel like I can expand my horizons without leaving the company or my current job, and I can do many different things. So I think if you, as I think Marlon and others mentioned before, I think you have to be really have a great relationship with your leadership team and be really open about what you're looking for, because who knows, maybe you're going to land on some crazy role that you didn't think about before. And I think that's where I feel that I am, because I'm doing a job that I'm hosted by an organization, but I am a citizen of EA because I work in different areas, and it's very generous of my leadership team to enable me to do that. So I think I feel that I am on a good spot, and it's because of dialogue that happened with leadership team, and that by being in the right environment where this type of proposition is nurtured, which is a little bit unusual, but it's awesome.
That's great. Anyone else want to share anything around creating a role for yourself, whether within EA or at a previous company?
So I can share a little bit about when I start at EA, right? Like I mentioned earlier, I start as systems engineer for the data center at BioWare 11 years ago, almost 11 years ago. So that role, I lasted there for almost 2 years, and then there was an opportunity to get transferred to corporate. And they told me, hey, but you're not going to be a systems engineer anymore. We want you to manage the procurement team for plus technology. And I didn't know anything about procurement, asset management, just a little bit of concept. So it was a little scary, but it was also challenging. And I was like, I told myself, okay, this is a great opportunity. Sometimes you need to make calculated risks. So I jumped on it, and I did. And then it opened an opportunity to not only be part of the studio, but also get involved with many other groups, which I was never exposed to that. And I learned from scratch, and also because I have a great support within the EA culture. People are very willing to help you, and I don't have a mentor just yet, but I have a lot of different mentors across our ERG groups. They are very supportive of many things. Actually, people from this panel as well. I always, when I have questions, so I'm afraid, I go and reach out to them, and they give me very good advice. So, and I never thought that for being a systems engineer, I was going to be able to have the opportunity to become part of a leadership group. It's just the way that things work. And like I said, sometimes you have to jump in, and with support from all the groups. And EA was a very good example of companies that allow you to do that. We work in a fast-paced environment, and we can move across groups. I also had the opportunity to, due to my background and my language, speaking Spanish, I was invited to be part of the guest auditor for like 2 weeks. We went to Mexico City. I used to be an auditor before, so I was like, yes, this is an awesome opportunity. And that's what also gave me opportunities to meet other people, always keeping that relationship, because you never know what will be next.
That's great. Awesome. Well, we are almost out of time. I'm curious if we have any questions. Does the product team work with the marketing team at EA? I can speak a little bit about that from an IT perspective, because we have many product teams across EA, in IT, across game studios, across the larger CTO org. We definitely have worked with the marketing team as product managers on marketing products. And then we've also engaged the marketing team from an internal perspective to actually get some better use out of the internal products that we have at EA. Anyone else want to share anything around marketing and product?
Yeah, I can jump in as well. We do work with, so I work with product management, and then in tandem, we also work with marketing and quantitative marketing as well. So we work very closely with them. Everything is tied in, right? We don't want to ship a product that's not going to be marketable or marketed before. So yes, it's a collaboration.
For sure. Alex, we also had another question around internships and just how to stand out. And I think it would be great too, not just internships, new grads, or even for experienced candidates, if you have any advice.
Yeah, just typing as well. So it always depends on the role, right? So you want to map your resume and your outreach tailored to that role, finding those people who work in those groups even ahead of seeing a role posted. Like if you know it's a company you want, my own transition and like other transitions that I've worked with friends and colleagues, I made a list of like 15 companies really that I was just kind of tracking, getting to know people little by little, getting to know the company better, making connections, knowing what the role entailed. Roles are very different across companies, even within recruitment, but really getting to understand those companies, understand the culture. As you get to network and talk to more people, it's not just an interview for them, it's an interview for you to see if that's where you want to be, understanding a team's culture and a company culture. With regards to what can help you stand out, a resume should, again, try and map and reverse engineer it to that job description, really use verbs, use numbers, really use those examples that you have. With regards to students specifically, whatever in the classroom that's relevant to the role. I know a lot of technical students work on game projects, which is great, and we know that that's a foundational part of technical work on campus, but kind of going beyond. I know time's premium, but if you want to build a game, you can do that. It's cheaper and easier than ever these days. There's free resources to use. So getting a group of friends, 4 or 5, and just kind of putting something together. It's not really about what you make, it's about the process. So getting to know the communication necessary amongst those disciplines to build something, getting to work in a group with different mindsets, because someone will be focusing on design and engineering and audio possibly, really learning that process is, I think, super helpful. And I think the key qualities that make interns stand out are not just on paper. When you get those discussions, really thinking about the role. This is not just for interns. I should specify for any role, really. Something I want to point out is just the SOAR method, like situation, obstacle, action, result. So as you get a question, really train your mind to answer it, right? It helps you be brief, helps you answer those questions when you have an interview. So just stating the situation, like in any type of question, what the obstacle might have been, the action that you took directly with students. That means that you're working a group project, and then the result, the outcome, and then drive it, and then you feel good about, hey, I checked it off, I answered it. It takes practice with friends, video yourself. It's tough, I know, to see yourself on video and hear yourself, but do that. That's also a great way to expand your network. Have friends help you, help them. As I mentioned, I think in text, like it's about a network's about supporting your growth and other people's growth, really adding value where you can. A job is an outcome of a network, but it's really about your growth. You might be looking at opportunities at another location when we can move more easily. But getting to know, like, would I want to live in I don't know, Portland? Would I want to live in St. Louis? Like, already knowing people that live there and do things there, as you see those opportunities, is great, and it kind of just enhances things further. As simple as that. Yeah.
Awesome.
One thing, if I can add.
So we are just about out of time. I figured. Yeah, go for it.
I was just going to add, along with what Alex said, one thing that provides an opportunity is, especially in tech, there are organizations that may be involved in your particular field. That's usually a way that you can get some experience a lot of times. And it's also a way to grow your network. I had an intern over this summer, and one of the things that stood out right away was that she was the secretary of the local NSBE chapter. So I knew that she was although she had this major, she was actively involved in engineering and doing work like that. And that's something that stood out right away.
That's a great call. I overlooked it. It's not just in the classroom, right? It's expanding your reach on campus. Formal networks, informal networks. You see a gap, you want it, you build it. Like, you can do it now. Groups, you can make LinkedIn groups. You can work with your career service center, and if they're not helping you, you can work with others to really build your own group and focus. And really showing that demonstrated leadership is super helpful. Communication is super helpful because that gets you beyond an interview.
Yeah.
It's a great call out, John. And organizations that might not be active on your campus, like Management Leadership for Tomorrow, Grace Hopper. There's tons of them. Check them out.
Cool. Final question, and we'll just go around and ask each one of you. Your best interview tip, and then your favorite EA game. Let's start with my favorite, John, who I like to call out today.
Oh man, I knew that was coming. My biggest, I don't know if it's an interview tip, but it's a biggest tip for growth is being teachable. That's the number one thing that I think has gotten me every role that I've been in, is that I was open to being teachable. So that's the number one thing. Favorite EA game, I am a gamer and an EA lover. I've loved EA since 1993. I had the first Madden cartridge, but my favorite game ever is Def Jam Fight for New York. Is Dragon Age. The Dragon Age series are my favorite video games.
Nice, very nice. Marlon, let's go to you.
My best tip for interviewing is practice, man. Gotta practice that interview. For real. Like, once you feel comfortable, here's the thing. When you give a presentation, it's always a good one. There's an intro, you have a body that you kind of go over whatever you said wasn't going to be in the intro, and then you conclude it, right? And so you want to be able to do that at different rates for when you get asked questions. Introduce whatever it is, talk about it, hit some points, and then kind of like end with something. So practice getting good at that. And you can do that a lot of different ways, but the best way to do it is on real subjects. And if you feel like you need to write out certain things, go ahead and write it out. You write it down, you say it, or even if you have to read it off of something, it'll just be more imprinted. It'll get more natural. But there's no substitute for just plain old practice. You can do it with your friends. You can do it with your mentors. Will always be down for that kind of thing. I had a young man that I met right before I left my last position, and we stayed in touch. And he expressed to me how he had met, he'd applied for like 40 positions, and this is a super talented person, mind you. And what I felt what was missing is that he just didn't get an audience to practice certain things. So I took my little network of people there's groups of technical friends that I have that are in just text groups, right? We text and we years long text groups. I asked 3 or 4 of them in different fields. I said, okay, can we introduce you to this young man and you help him we're all going to help him with interview prep and our expertise. He has a couple interviews coming up in a couple of weeks. We want to make sure he's ready to go. He got an offer for both of those jobs. And all we really did was just practice with him, an hour each, basically, not even. It makes a huge difference. So he went from batting 100 to batting 1,000, same person. And all he did was get some good practice. So look for those kind of things. That's my best advice.
Right. And your favorite EA game?
I like this new Star Wars Squadron. It's pretty good. But before that, I like Dragon Age and Skate or Die. Those were the ones that I played the most. But this new Squadron game is pretty good. You guys should try it if you haven't.
Christina, let's go to you. We're just doing top interview tip and then favorite EA game.
So interview tip, and I got disconnected a little bit, so sorry if I missed some of the comments and might repeat something here. But I would say just be authentic, be yourself. If you have questions that you have to ask, you can polish maybe the way that you are going to ask, but ask those questions. Is this a good environment for you? Is this a good fit for you? If there's something that doesn't look right, poke around it. So, try to look for those 2 things that are, is this an environment where I can grow and I develop my skills? Is this do I have a supportive team that I'm going to be working with? Are their values, kind of matching with my values, and try to find that alignment, and that goes a long way. So that would be my interview advice. Make sure that you ask the questions that you need to ask, and be yourself, be authentic. Don't hold back, because wherever you're going to be happy is the place that you can just be who you are with all the goodness that you have. So be yourself. Favorite EA game. Now I'm going to date myself like to 3 million years. I love the Tetris game. That EA and I have it. I'm a little bit of an addict here on my mobile. So that's what I love.
Yeah, I have it on mine too. Morgan, let's go to you. Favorite EA game and interview tip?
Sure. So I have a couple of favorite. I had Sims, but then Squadrons is out. So it's a tie at this point. I don't know. We'll see which one ends up winning my heart and my time. But the tip really is going to be a combination. I have more than one. I'll summarize it in 3. One is really do your research, understand what the company does, what are some of the products, and just don't pretend. Be yourself, be authentic, do your research. When you show up, be ready. The other thing, I think Marlon mentioned it, practice. Sometimes we have some brilliant candidates, but the interview just doesn't, they just cannot talk. So practice, record yourself, share it with an audience. And then the last one will be, I think Christina mentioned it a little bit. It's just think that realize that it's not just a one-way interview; it's a two-way interview. You're also interviewing the company, the team, and the culture. You want to be sure that you're joining somewhere where you're a good fit, because you're going to be spending a lot of time with this family. And so your own family, you may not choose it, but this family, you get to choose it. So be picky.
That's great. Gloria, how about you? Interview tip and EA game?
So the advice for interview that I will give is understand the culture of the company, right? Ask questions, be passionate, and be curious as well. Be yourself. It just takes you a long way. One other thing that I will tell the interviewers is be humble, but don't sell yourself down. It's always really good to show your morals and when you want to search for a company, if you are a good fit for them and if they are a good fit for you. Don't sell yourself short. Yes, that was what I will give them for advice. And the other, my favorite game, oh my God, I have so many. I love Bejeweled because I used to play when I travel all the time. But right now I am into the Sims series.
Love it. Last but not least, again, we'll go with Alex. Interview tip. I know you gave a bunch, but anyone that stands out in favorite game?
Yeah, well, I mean, everyone says. I mean, it's hard to pick one, but the practice, being yourself. I mean, you want to work somewhere where you can't be yourself, so think about that. Like having questions ready is great. You know, it builds upon the research you did, but have questions that come up in that interview and have a notebook and write them down. It shows that you're an active listener too, and that you're making it a dialogue, and that you're looking to learn more about them. And it kind of adds to that, like interviewing the interviewer too. And then I also, for myself personally, like I like to remember the tougher things in life. It's an interview. Like you've done so much that's really, 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 really difficult. And don't get yourself emotional before, but remember those things. Remember, like this is a conversation. You know, it's not do or die. If you don't land it, you're getting better. It's part of that practice. It's real. It's like a scrimmage practice, right? If you don't get it, and that's all good. And also, like to kind of loosen yourself up before. Like I have a hype song. It's one hype song that I always play before, and like I just kind of like it gets me kind of like because I can actually be like humble, but it gets me kind of riled up a little bit enough where I need it. And then I remember my breathing. I'm like, just remember 4 in, 6 out. Relax my nerves, like breathing to just relax my heart rate. And once you get the first question down, like you'll feel yourself kind of leaning in and getting chill and being good to go.
Great. Favorite game?
Yeah. Right now it's Apex Legends. If Jake Rodriguez is in here, he'll attest to how bad I am at it, but love it. And all time Fight Night, love Fight Night. Good game for me. Yeah. And yeah, definitely those two.
Nice. I'll end with my favorite game. We already talked about The Sims, Plants vs. Zombies. So I'll go with FIFA, the classic. I love old school, new school, everything in between. And my interview tip, I guess it's along the lines of everybody else's, is that, you know, your resume is a story, your life is a story. So make sure that when you show up in that interview room, you can tell it. You know, you're the best one to explain why you're right for this role and how the experience that you've had in the past has led you here. So make sure that you can tell that story and that you tell it authentically. All right, thanks everyone. I know we're a few minutes over, so thank you for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. Thank you to all of the wonderful panelists here today and our recruiters on the call. And thank you all for joining. We had a great time. Have a great rest of your night, everyone.
All right. Thanks, you guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.